Hello, my name is Ursula Amatrudo, and I am a student in Dr. Levy's Introduction to Teaching Students with Disabilities course at Touro College, and this is my EdTPA lesson plan. The title of my lesson is Student, Student, What Do You See? Based off Bill Martin Jr. and Eric Carle's book, Brown Bear, What Do You See? This lesson may be used in a pre-kindergarten or kindergarten classroom. The central learning focus on this lesson is responding to literature. The content standards taken from the New York State Pre-Kindergarten Foundation for the Common Core are Domain 4, Part B, English Language Arts and Literacy, Responding to Literature. After this lesson, students should be able to, with prompting and support, make connections between self, text, and the world around them, should be able to, with prompting and support, describe the role of an author and illustrator. Students will also be able to, once again, with prompting and support, describe the relationship between the illustrations and the text in which they appear. For example, what person, place, thing, or idea in the text the illustration depicts. For this lesson, you will need construction paper, white drawing paper, and a varying degree of different art materials that you may keep in your art center. This includes markers, pencils, crayons, tape, glue, glitter, anything you think that students will need to complete the illustrations of their book. For students with poor fine motor grip, it is suggested that for the use of this lesson, fat markers, fat crayons, and easy to manipulate art tools be available to them. Student, What Do You See's lesson timeline goes as so. First, the students will gather on the rug with the teacher. Questions about the author versus illustrator will be asked. At this time, it is assumed that students do not have any prior knowledge of what an author versus an illustrator does. The teacher should ask questions such as, do you think that the author draws the pictures or writes the words? Do you think that the author and illustrator can be the same person? Feel the general knowledge of the class out and see where they are at this time. The second step is for the teacher to read Brown Bear, What Do You See? By Bill Martin Jr. and Eric Carle. After the reading, the teacher should stress on the cover of the book how it says author versus author/illustrator. And let the students see if they can, with a little bit more guidance and support, define what the author and what the illustrator does. After that, students will be allowed to listen to the song Brown Bear by Greg and Steve. The purpose for the use of this song is to help students who are more audio learners through songs and music than visual learners through listening to a book being read. The song will be listened to twice in order that way for students to be able to maybe sing along the next time and gain a deeper understanding of the text. After listening to the song, we will begin the craft portion. Prior to the craft portion, the teacher will ask students if they would like to be able to pretend to be the author and the illustrator. This is an actual sample from my Universal Pre-K class this year where I taught this lesson. The title of the book, Student, What Do You See? Written and drawn by my student, Ava, was come up with by the teachers. Of course, the title of the lesson is Student, What Do You See? However, all written words in this book are the words of the student, and all drawings are done by the student as well. This is especially important so that the student can grasp the jobs of the author, which she herself pretended to be, and the illustrator, which once again she pretended to be. The teacher, however, will assist in scribing the work. As shown here, I wrote Student, What Do You See? Ava drew the picture, and she was able to write her own name. Should a student not be able to write their own name, of course the teacher will be there to help them. As you go into the book, as student, Ava answered, Student, What Do You See? I see the class fish looking at me. I scribed, I see the class fish looking at me, of course, as it is not of appropriate age group to be able to write such a complex sentence. And Ava drew the fish. Then, for the next page, she decided to write, class fish, what do you see? I see the elf on the shelf looking at me. This lesson was, of course, taught in early December when the elf on the shelf and Mensch on the bench were present in our classroom. This shows that she grasps the concept of illustrator, as she pretended to be the illustrator, and author. At the end of the craft portion, and during closing meeting, the teacher will question students on what they did when they pretended to be author versus what they did when they pretended to be illustrator, in order to assess their grasp on the topic, and students will be able to show off their work. This is a fun, interactive, craft-based early literacy lesson for pre-K and possibly for early kindergarteners as well. Thank you very much for listening to my lesson plan presentation. Have a great day.